which we are going to discuss the next couple of weeks, right? So we have opted to learn Microsoft Azure administrator related syllabus, right? And we are not just going to stick only towards the examination part, but we are going to discuss a lot of stuff. Since it is a administration level course, we are going to have a lot of hands-on. We are going to have a lot of lab sessions compared to the theoretical part. Whereas if you go to the next level, which is expert level, you might need to go through a lot of use cases and have a lot of discussions orally. But then for this particular level, you need to have a lot of hands-on knowledge. So as the skills listed here, it is all referring to deployment, implementation, monitoring, maintenance, and so on, right? So you need to have a lot of hands-on before you could appear for this exam. As a prerequisite, you don't have to really have the Azure fundamental certification with you, but if you have learned and if you have completed that fundamental certification, it is well and good, but it is not a mandatory stuff to have. Okay, you can directly appear for the intermediate level, which is Azure administrator level examination. Okay, and these are the 5 different areas which will be tested in your exam. Okay, so we need to have, and again, if you are working in IT for some time, you know that these are the core pillars of IT, right? Compute, storage, network, identity and access management, and how we do the operations and maintenance, right? So these are the 5 key pillars, and including the database, which is a sub part of your data, right? The storage. So these are the 5 different pillars which you will be tested in the exam, and the weightage of questions that you might get in the exam is what is listed in the second column here, right? And what we are planning to do as part of this training session, we are planning to discuss around compute for 2 days, and I've just put together some rough number of duration here, but this might spill over to next day, or we might need some time. For example, when we discuss about compute, we might need a little extra time. Okay, so I've just put together a rough duration here. As of now, it is a rough estimate, but we might need a little more extra time as we discuss. Okay, and as I said, this is an associate level exam. We have one more fundamental level where you can start learning Microsoft Azure, which is Azure Fundamentals, AZ 900. Here we are going to discuss on AZ 104 specific certification, and Microsoft recommends 2 years of comprehensive working experience before you take this exam. But yeah, so if you are practicing well, if you are getting opportunity to work on these different pillars as part of your work routine, I think you can take your exam well ahead of the scheduled or recommended duration from Microsoft. Okay, so for associate level, you need to do a lot of practice. So knowing is not enough. We need to practice, we need to apply, we need to do and learn these areas. Okay, as part of the day one, we are going to have 3 different sections that will be covered. So what I'm planning to have is, it is a 4 hours long discussion, right? So we'll try and have a break after the first 1.5 hours, and we'll have the second part covered after that. And once we complete the second part, we'll have a small break and conclude with the third section. So I'm splitting the discussions into 3 sections every day. So that way we have 2 small breaks in between the sessions, right? So we'll have 10 minutes break overall. So total we are planning for 20 minutes break on each day. So is that good with you, or you guys have different suggestions for me? Hope my audio is still okay for you guys.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I was talking on it. Yeah, looks good.
sure then. Okay then.
It's good, yeah.
Perfect. So we'll get into the discussion today. Okay, so we will start with. I mean, even though I know most of you might have a basic idea about what is cloud and what is the benefits and characteristics of cloud, I'll take a few minutes to kind of quickly cover that up, and then we will get into what is Azure and Azure related topics. Okay, when it comes to cloud computing, different providers have got different definitions for it. But to make it simple, it is on-demand delivery of computing services over the internet. This is what Microsoft term it as cloud. But then if you want to go by the definition of NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, they have given a different, I mean, kind of for the same definition. Even if you go for other cloud providers like Amazon, they are also referring the cloud computing as a on-demand delivery of IT resources. It can be compute or database or applications. You are accessing it through the cloud services platform over the internet. And the main important thing is we are paying as per the usage. We are paying as per the consumption. It is a utility pricing model, like how you consume electricity, water, and pay for the consumption at the end of the month. Cloud computing is also pretty much similar in nature, right? And this is what we are doing. Some cloud provider like Microsoft or Amazon are providing the resources that we need for running our business application. Of course, for running our business application, we need compute, storage, network, and so on. So that is what we are accessing over the internet, which is hosted on a third-party data center. In this case, Microsoft is hosting the data center, and they are offering the services like the compute, database, applications into a packaged offering called Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft has got multiple different cloud offering. We'll get into the different types shortly. So in short, cloud computing is an on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing model. That's the simple definition of cloud computing. So cloud computing has been in usage since a very long time, but it got very popular when Amazon got launched with their services into the AWS banner in 2006. And yeah, so even Microsoft had its own services offered in 2010 as with a brand name called Windows Azure, but Windows Azure was not as popular as expected or anticipated. Simple reason is the branding itself. So Microsoft would like to, we're thinking to offer Microsoft related technologies when it comes to operating system. They want to give as much as preference for Microsoft Windows. Similarly, for application, they want to have .NET as the primary option, the .NET framework, and they want to have their own databases, the Microsoft databases as the primary offering. So that did not go well at the beginning. There were very few customers who were adopting Windows Azure, but the rebranding happened somewhere in 2014. That's when Satya Nadella rebranded the cloud portfolio, especially the Azure portfolio, into a new name called Microsoft Azure instead of Windows Azure. So Microsoft Azure started picking up very well after 2014, and there is no looking back after 2014. So last 10 years, cloud has grown like anything, and Microsoft Azure is a tough competitor for Amazon Web Services. They are operating neck on neck when it comes to infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. But Microsoft is already a clear leader in software as a service. They have the Microsoft 365 portfolio, the complete bundle that is already being widely used across every different industry vertical and organization. So overall, commercially, Microsoft is the leader because they are having a lot of customers for Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Azure. But Amazon Web Services has got a lot of customers running their services on infrastructure as a service and platform as a service category. But it is not a big gap as of now. But 10 years back, Amazon has done a lot of investment. The first 8 years, there was not much competition from any of the provider, Google or IBM or HP or any company. They did not give the tough fight where Amazon had as a roadmap. Amazon has deployed a lot of data center, a lot of infrastructure, and a lot of customers has got onboarded in the initial 7 to 8 years when Microsoft rebranded or restructured their offering, right? And since 2014, Microsoft is offering a lot of open source technologies. When it comes to operating system, they are providing options for running a lot of open source Linux, or a lot of marketplace offering is there for open source technology. They are providing you observability using Grafana, managed Grafana, or managed Prometheus. So Microsoft is offering a lot of open source technologies after the restructuring or the rebranding. So last 10 years, it has been a good market growth for Microsoft, even for their Azure platform. So earlier it was just for their Microsoft 365. Earlier it was called as Windows 365, and now Microsoft is the clear commercial leader when it comes to cloud. And when it comes to IaaS, infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, Amazon Web Services is giving a tough competition to others. So there are a lot of benefits when it comes to cloud computing. The very first benefit, or like the top seven benefit, I would say, is what is listed here: trading capital expenditure into operational expenditure. You know how IT was working before public cloud, right? So we used to go and invest to deploy a data center, or to run a business application. We need to purchase the server storage. We have to bring up the devices together using networking components, and there needs to be a lot of capital expenditure or capital expense to run the cloud before the public cloud computing came into picture. But now, public cloud computing is offering you whatever you want on demand. You can go and create virtual machines in few seconds, and you can go and ask for terabytes of storage in few seconds, and you can expand like anything. The scalability is huge, that providers like Microsoft, Amazon has deployed their data centers with huge capacity when it comes to compute, networking, or even the storage is virtually unlimited. So you can just go and consume it, and you can pay for it on demand. So here, public cloud computing is all about variable expense instead of capital expenditure. We don't have to invest anything upfront. That is the message here. So no upfront investment. That is the primary benefit of cloud computing. The second benefit is the speed and agility that you get. So when you want to take your business application to the market, providers like Microsoft or Amazon, they have got a lot of data centers running across the globe. And if you want to take your application to the market, the time to market is very, very less. So if you want to create a similar server which is already running on one region, for example, if you have a system running on India region and you want to clone it to Dubai or Singapore, you just have to take a clone or snapshot, and you can copy that image or the template to another region, and you can bring that application quick for the users in that particular region. Even if the business application developers, if they want to test their application, creating a server or creating the environment that they need does not take even a day, right? They will get everything on the same day. Whereas if you think about prior to the public cloud computing days, we have to wait for 3 months or 6 months, because it has to go through the procurement cycle. The finance team has to approve it, and then there will be a lot of back and forth between the technology provider and the purchaser, because like they might go for some specific models. They have to finalize on which one to purchase based on the specification that the application team is looking for. So there will be a lot of back and forth discussion, procurement cycle, then the delivery takes its own time, racking, stacking. So there is a lot of process involved when it comes to physical computing. But when it comes to public cloud computing, you are going and getting everything on demand, and the speed and agility is unimaginable. So you can test your business application on the same day, and even you can take your business application to the market for consumption by the end users on the same day itself. That level of agility and speed is there in public cloud computing. And if you want to scale globally, as I said, you can take the images, you can take the templates, you can copy it over from one region to another region, or one data center to another data center. There are a lot of tools that are provided natively by Azure through Azure Resource Manager or Azure Migrate. Or there are a lot of tool sets where you can use it for moving your resources from one region to another region. And even if you want to copy or clone or make a duplication of the systems, you can quickly scale globally, and you can have your systems running in multiple regions in no time, right? And the way you can innovate. So AWS, Microsoft Azure or AWS, any cloud provider, they are providing a lot of options like platform as a service, where you can go and test a lot of features with auto scaling, with a lot of flexibility, with a lot of global load balancing. So you can innovate as you want, and there is a lot of features that are available with platform as a service, where you don't have to really think about infrastructure, or you don't have to manage the infrastructure. You just have to focus on development related aspects, or the application new enhancements or new features. And that's the way cloud is getting modernized, right? These days, people are not just rehosting it, they are trying to modernize their application into containers or serverless applications. So that way they are able to get the real benefits of public cloud. So if you're just rehosting your applications, right, like moving it from on-premises VMware virtual machine to Azure virtual machine, still you have to do the patching, still you have to do the monitoring, still you have to do the upgrades, updates, and so on, right? So there is no difference. And even from pricing aspect, the licensing has to be taken care, and a lot of work has to be done by the IT operations team. Either it is a system administrator work or cloud operations work, it remains the same. So rehosting does not bring you a lot of benefits, whereas moving to serverless applications or moving to containerized application does really provide you a lot of cost benefits, and also you can do a lot of innovations, and you can have all the DevOps framework or the SRE frameworks implemented easily on a serverless environment or containerized workload environment. So we'll discuss that in details as we touch those topics. And of course, the expenses are pretty much reduced if you're following the right practice in terms of right sizing and migrating with the right level of workload requirement. You can definitely save a lot of cost. There are a lot of purchasing options. There are a lot of bidding options. There are savings plan. There are reservations through which you can reduce the expense that you are spending on public cloud. So the business value can be easily accelerated. You can take your business application to the end users globally located, not just for a specific location. And like the challenges involved in replicating or getting into a global market, it is very, very tough because you have to do the same level of investment. For example, if I want to have the same set of data centers in Chennai and Dubai, you need to build the same exact data center. You have to purchase the real estate. You have to set up all the IT environment, including the surveillance, the servers, racks, storages, networking, and a lot of things has to be surrounded as well, right? Like the cooling infrastructure and the generators, battery backup, the security solutions. So a lot of investments has to happen. So public cloud provides you an easier way to accelerate the deployment of your application, and you can grow your business globally in no time. So the deployment is also pretty much streamlined, and it is very much easy to deploy. Creating a virtual machine, you just need to practice once or twice, and you will be very thorough with that. So anyone with basic IT knowledge can do it. So that's how the market is currently, right? A lot of competitions are coming from even the college grads. They are learning cloud, and they are able to manage the cloud environment for first couple of years, and then they are trained into DevOps, and after 3-4 years they are trained into SRE kind of roles. And there is a huge competition in the market. A 6 years, 7 years person with a lot of skills around DevOps and SRE, you know how hot in the market, right? So it is pretty much easy and easy to deploy, easy to learn, and the benefit that you get out of cloud is enormous. But of course, the IT knowledge that you bring based on your core portfolio. Maybe it might be compute, or it might be virtualization, or it might be storage or security. Definitely that is going to help you out. But yeah, for working on cloud environment, even I could see people without the basic core IT knowledge, they are able to get into this cloud computing field, and they are able to provide the services that the customer is expecting. But not, I mean, I'm not referring to the level of services that they're getting, but at least they are able to provide the required amount of support with the right level of collaboration and communication that is being expected. So at the high level, these are the top 7 benefits, I would say. There are many other benefits. For example, cloud offers you options to bring your own licenses, which you might not be using on your data center. Any unused licenses, be it Microsoft operating system license or database license, you can bring it to the cloud and you can start using it. There is a process for that, like software assurance process has to be followed to bring your license to cloud. But there are a lot of ways to manage it in a very centralized way. There are portals where you can manage your licenses and bring that to the cloud. So the speed, the agility, the accuracy, the rapid provisioning, there is a lot of benefits which we can continue to discuss. And of course, when it comes to cloud, the security as a as an area, a lot of people are concerned, right? So Microsoft Azure provides you the maximum compliance than you can imagine of getting. For example, Microsoft has got 100 plus compliance offering in all their data centers. Either it is payment card industry related applications, they have got PCI DSS standards, they have got HIPAA standards for healthcare, they have got SOC standards for automobile or manufacturing. There are 100 plus accreditations that are already there in Microsoft Azure data centers. So you can run any business application from different industry vertical. There are already a lot of customers who are running it with all the certifications. You can access those compliance and legal industry certifications that you need. There is a way to go and download it. I will walk you through how to access those artifacts, how to access those compliance accreditations. So most of the data centers that Microsoft Azure is running, the services, it's all tier 3 plus or tier 4. Okay, and I'm not sure how many of you know the classification of data centers. The more the number of tier, the higher the security, higher the controls, higher the surveillance, and so on. So tier 3 plus tier 4 offers you, sorry, was that a question?
I think it, uh, I think it was somebody just got unmute. Okay, that's right.
No, no problem. That's fine. Okay. So, I mean, Microsoft Azure is running the services on tier 3 plus or tier 4 category of data centers. So when I say tier 3, tier 4, see, for example, you won't see a failure because of one network, internet network service providers unavailability. So tier 3 plus means there are more than 3 internet connections that they have procured from different providers, maybe Reliance or BSNL or different providers are providing services for that particular data center. And similarly, there are more than one source of power supply. They might have the regular um, government offered power supply. On top of that, they might have solar power, they might have wind energy, or they might have alternate power sources. So that way they can sustain even if they don't have one source of power or one source of internet connectivity. So the more the tier, the more the number of redundancy. So there won't be a single point of failure in any of the component. So the data center evaluation team does the checks on these different offering, like the number of internet redundancy, the number of connections that they have for the power source, power inlet. So based on all these things, they have the tiering for the data center. Most of the services are running on tier 3 plus or tier 4 data centers. There is a list of Azure offered locations and Azure data centers listing where you can access it, but they won't provide you the exact address, but you know where exactly it is running, which city or which particular town it is running, right? So there are a lot of benefits that I can talk about in terms of performance, in terms of cost and safety. But at a very high level, when it comes to exam, these are the 7 high-level benefits that you get. And we will also discuss about the availability, maintainability aspects, even the auto scaling, the scalability aspect when we discuss the virtual machines or the specific area. But for now, these are the top 7 benefits. Any questions on the benefits of cloud computing at a very high level? Okay, I'll take that as no. So when it comes to cloud services, there are a variety of options, right? You have infrastructure as a service, you have got platform as a service, and you have got software as a service. Software as a service, I know every one of you, each one of you are using that particular distribution model since a very long time. For example, Google Drive or Google Mail or whatever, right? The entire Google suite is a better example for the software as a service. And Microsoft is providing you Microsoft 365 that comes under the software as a service category. So here you just need to go and purchase the licenses for the number of users who are going to consume the services. You don't have to worry about any of the underlying components. For example, when you go for software as a service, all the underlying IT related components, be it networking or storage or server or virtualization technology, the OS, the middleware, runtime, data, application, all these components are provided as a service. As a customer, we do have to take care of certain aspects like the number of licenses, number of users who will be accessing these services, and the credentials, the identity and access management. As a customer, we need to take care of our identities, the login credentials, and the data, right? Taking care of the backup or taking an additional copy of your data. So the data access, identity and access management, plus the licenses. These three aspects as a customer, we have to take care of irrespective of the model. Even if it is a software as a service model, these three items has to be taken care by the customer: identity and access management, data security, and in fact, the licensing of any of the product. Right? Software as a service provides you a complete software solution, which is very good in terms of flexible payment options, in terms of the scalable usage on demand. You can continue to have a higher number of usage. For example, if you had a exchange server on your premises, you have limitation in terms of sizing. You might get only 5 GB or 10 GB. But nowadays, think of the size that you're getting in Microsoft 365 mailboxes. You are virtually getting unlimited space to store your emails, not just the email, right? Even if you want an object storage solution, you are going and storing a lot of content on Microsoft Online Storages or Google Drive or wherever, right? So you are getting a lot of capacity. You are getting a lot of space to for any software application. So the payment is also pretty straightforward. It is based on the number of users, number of licenses you are consuming, and for the underlying components, every activities like the updates, the patching, the monitoring, the backup is taken as is provided as a service, right? So it is automatically taken care. And only thing is you need to have a reliable internet service, right? So we are heavily relying upon the internet. So that is the kind of dependency that you have got. All these services are offered over the internet primarily, but there are options where you can go and access it through VPN tunnels, or we can access it through direct connect options. But those are all primarily offered for infrastructure as a platform as a service. Even Microsoft Direct Connect provides you access to software as a service for some of the category, which we will discuss during the networking session. So software as a service is a complete software solution where the complete underlying the components, IT components, are taken care by the provider. In this case, Microsoft as an example. So Microsoft 365 is a good example for the software as a service. In platform as a service, the provider is providing you the platform, including the platform, they are servicing it. See why we are calling it as infrastructure as a service. The vendor is doing the service of any activities or any components. When there is a networking port that is failing, or when there is a storage disk that is failing, or when there is a server experiencing issue in motherboard or any component, the service will be taken care by the vendor. In this case, Microsoft is managing all the infrastructure related services or infrastructure related maintenance or management activities. That's why it is called as infrastructure as a service. Microsoft is managing the infrastructure on behalf of the customer. And in this case, on top of the infrastructure, even the runtime, the platform that you need to run your application. For example, it can be a Java runtime environment or .NET framework, or you might need some specific underlying middleware and operating system. So the Windows or Linux or the virtualization is completely taken care by the provider, Microsoft. So mostly Microsoft is providing you services using their own virtualization technology, which is Hyper-V. But there is also an option called Microsoft VMware solution. Some customers are running their services on the VMware technology in Microsoft Azure data center, but predominantly it is all Hyper-V. Whereas the competitor, for example, Amazon Web Services provides you different options. So they started with customized Zen. They offered the kernel virtual machine KVM option, and then currently they have got their own hypervisor, which is called Nitro Hypervisor, which is Amazon own product. See, the more the provider gets into their own offering, they can get the real benefits of the cost, right? They can get the complete share. But if they are running the services on a third party, for example, if you are running VMware on AWS cloud, okay, so the portion or the partial benefits, the cost benefits is going to the uh, partner, right? In this case example, VMware will get the share. So if you are completely running on Hyper-V, Microsoft is going to get the full share of virtualization related licensing or virtualization related benefits. So now over the period,
Yeah, maybe one question. San, the entire Azure data center, they are running on Hyper-V, is it? Or are they using any other? I mean, I know AVS, Azure VM services, that is, very, very, very less, I think. But overall, for all this, all their, services, right? Are they relying on Hyper-V?
yeah, so completely it is Hyper-V. So there are some customers who are negotiating for bare metal hypervisor where they want to experiment on Linux related technologies, where they want to have the OpenStack or OpenShift related implementations. But there are
Mhm.
that is being only for some enterprise customers as POC, but as on date, it is all Hyper-V. And as you rightly said, Azure VMware solution, it is VMware-based hypervisor. Rest all it's Hyper-V. Yeah, Microsoft Hyper-V and Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager is what is managing it at a central level, a CVMM, right? It's equivalent to your VMware vCenter. And equivalent to your VMware vSphere is your Hyper-V, right? Yeah, Hyper-V is the virtualization technology that Microsoft is leveraging for all the Azure hosting.
Okay.
Yeah. So here the platform is also managed by Microsoft. So that means the scaling, the management, maintenance, updates, the high availability, redundancy, resiliency. It's all taken care by the Microsoft as a vendor here. So you don't have to worry about single point of failure on the virtualization. The hypervisors are clustered already, and they have the live migration and the quick migrations enabled. So if in case of any failure on the virtualization component, the SCVMM will take care of the quick migration or the live migration portion. So the DRS, right, the resource sharing will be also taken care by that particular same product. So wherever the resources are available, it will distribute the systems equally across the physical hardware, the physical servers. So that way, the resiliency, the redundancy, the management is completely taken care by the provider and platform as a service. So platform as a service provides you only the option to go and work on the application development. So we have to take care of the data that is part of your application development. You have to store that in a better location. For example, it can be a GitHub, or it can be any third-party Atlassian Bitbucket or any location. So most of your software repository or the application data that you are storing, it has to be in a better storage. It can be an object storage on Azure Blob or AWS S3 or whatever, wherever, but it has to be on a very proper redundant storage, and it can be also stored on a particular application repo where you have CI/CD integrations and so on. So platform as a service typically provides you the complete infrastructure stack as well as the platform stack, where you just have to go and do the development related work and focus on application related enhancements and feature enhancements and so on. So all these services, for example, when you talk about platform as a service, there are a lot of examples like Microsoft Azure App Services, and similarly, AWS provides you relational database services, or Google Apps Engine. AWS also provides you Elastic Beanstalk. So these are all good examples of platform as a service. Azure provides you app services where you can go and just develop your app. I mean, you can just host your developed application, and they will provide you the version of runtime that you are looking for. So you might not get the same level of runtime that you are getting on your premises. On your premises, you can continue to still run on .NET 2.5 or legacy versions of the framework or the runtime environment. But when it comes to cloud, you have to be at least on N or N-2 or N-3, at least like you have to be in the latest or latest minus maximum maybe 3 or 4 releases. You cannot have the same legacy versions available as a runtime environment. So your application has to be tested on the compatible runtime environment that the public cloud provider offers. So they're not just providing you only the latest version, even the N-3 or N-4 runtime environments might be available case to case for your platform. For example, if it is .NET, or if it is Java, or if it is Python, they provide you different versions. We will get into the details of what are the different versions or runtime environment that we get, for example, for Azure App Services when we discuss that particular topic. But that is one of the advantage that you get on your own data center. You can even have your application running on Microsoft 2008 or 2008 R2, which is deprecated already for your maintenance or support. Security related updates are no more available, right? So you can still run your application on 2008 or 2008 R2. Maybe like your application is still 32-bit, and you might want to run it on 2008, or even I'm not sure if someone is still using 2003 versions of Windows, but you can have it on your own data center, right? But in cloud, they don't really offer you that kind of support. Mostly it is all 64-bit support. You have to have the latest versions of operating system. They always recommend to go with latest. For example, 2025 is getting released now, but 2022 is what is being used, or 2019 is what they are using in terms of Windows environment. But for Linux also, you get a lot of different options to choose from. So PaaS offering, it provides you different levels of runtime environment. And even when it comes to infrastructure as a service offering, the operating system, you have wide variety of operating systems to choose from Windows and Linux, but the versions that you can run, again, depends on the latest and whatever Microsoft is still supporting. The supportability should have to be there in terms of security updates, in terms of maintenance and management. The provider has to provide the support. If you have the support model, or if you have the support services intact, Microsoft does provide those operating systems on the cloud. So these are the some examples of the infrastructure as a service: Azure Virtual Machine, AWS EC2 instance. So these are all good examples of infrastructure as a service. And software as a service, as I said, the Google Suite, or your Azure Blob Storage, and AWS S3. So these are all good examples of really available software as a services. So as an analogy, if you own a car, you know what are the difficulties you have, right? You need to have the space, you need to have the regular servicing, management, maintenance. You have to take care of the updates. You own the car, you have to take care of the entire thing. It's like owning a house, right? If you own a house, you have to take care of all the maintenance and upgrades and whatever you want to do. But when you go for software as a service, you are just taking a lease of a car. You use it for 1 hour or 2 hour or half a day or one day, and then you just pay for that consumption. And if you're going for bus, it is a public transport, right? Anyone can come and run their services. So there are classic examples for, okay, I have just misplaced it. So I mean, software as a service is something, it's a public offering where anyone can come and use it. Whereas if you are owning your car, you have to do the maintenance, management, and the routine activities. So there are benefits on each of these categories. For infrastructure as a service, there are no upfront costs in any of the model, but for infrastructure as a service, you are paying for what you are consuming in terms of the number of virtual machines, in terms of the services that you are using. For example, if you are using Azure Monitor for monitoring and Azure Update Management for updating your servers, you are going to pay for the storage, the log analytics, and the underlying technologies that you are using for managing and maintaining your environment. Similarly, for software as a service, you are just paying for the licensing or the subscription on a monthly basis or on an annual basis based on the subscription that you are opting for. So there are pros and cons for each and every service model, but it all depends on your business application, whether your business application can be hosted on platform as a service. If it can be hosted on platform as a service, of course, that is the best idea to go and run on the platform as a service offering. That way, you don't have to really worry about the underlying infrastructure and platform. That way, there will be a lot of cost benefit. So the cost benefits will be better on software as a service and platform as a service compared to infrastructure as a service. The reason is the IT overhead, the IT operations overhead, the system administration is still with the customer, right? So you have to take care of the backup, patching, monitoring, and then whatever the updates that you have to do for your systems on a week, monthly basis, or a quarterly basis, you still do it. For infrastructure as a service consumption, you still need to have system administrators, developers, and the application owners and the IT administration team for infrastructure as a service. For platform as a service, system administration is offshore, outsourced to Microsoft. So you just have to have the application development skills, and application developer, software developers are needed for platform as a service. So when it comes to platform as a service, we need developers, but for software as a service, it is just mere end users. You just have to go and consume it based on the link, the credentials. You will access it and have it. So any questions on these three models: infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service? I know most of you have the cloud basics, but I want to quickly connect for the first 30 minutes. Okay, fine. So
We are
cloud,
good. Yeah, we are good. Yeah. Thank you.
okay, sure. Cloud can be deployed in your own data center as well. So public cloud kind of features and services can be experienced in your own data centers. For example, Middle East, most of the location did not have the public cloud offering for many years, where very recently they have started building data centers in Bahrain and different locations. But before that, there were a lot of countries and regions already experiencing in their own locations. It might be because of a lot of legal and government restrictions and regulations, but now they are understanding how the cloud is operating, and there are a lot of data centers that are coming up in many locations, including South America, Middle East, and some of the locations where we did not have a lot of cloud provider presence. Now it is expanding, and it is growing like anything. But if in case you don't have the offering, public cloud offering, and you want to experience that on your own data center, Azure is also providing a which can be deployed on your own data center, which is a private cloud software. Like if you want to have your own public cloud environment, you go for OpenStack, right? Similarly, you can purchase Azure Stack or Cloud Stack services and deploy it. So similarly, AWS is offering Outpost, which is a kind of private cloud deployment that you can implement in your own data centers. So you can get the entire appliance with all the ready-made kit, or you can also get your own hardware of choice, and then you can deploy it on top of that. So Azure Stack is the private cloud deployment, which you can deploy in your own data center. Maybe in your region, you don't have the public cloud offering, or your business does not allow you to run your application on public cloud environment. If there is a legal, if there is a government regulatory standard that you have to comply with, then of course you can run it on your own data center by having the services like Azure Stack or AWS Outpost or any OpenStack product. You can deploy it in your own data center, and you can get all those self-service portal, on-demand provisioning, and the same kind of cloud experiences, the cloud characteristics. You can bring it into your own data center. So that's what we call it as private cloud environment. So private cloud environment, there are a couple of varieties of deployment that you can do. Like there is a managed private cloud, there is a virtual private cloud concept, and you can also do it as a hosted private cloud environment. So the difference between these two, for example, IBM as a company, they have got a lot of data centers across the globe. Similarly, HP, Dell, these kind of hardware providers, they used to have a lot of data centers across the globe. See, in the virtue of virtualization that came in 20 years back, right? The virtualization implementation has resulted in a drastic reduction of data center size. So if you want to run 100 application in 2005, you might have to purchase 100 servers minimum. The reason is, like, on top of the applications, you need some utility services like Active Directory or DNS or DHCP or Radius or a lot of other services. Surrounding services are needed for utility related stuff. So you need to have that many number of physical servers for your application. Like if it is 100 application, you need to have at least 120 servers, physical servers, because of the 20 utility applications plus the 100 application. If you have multiple environment like development, staging, production, and so on, you have to multiply it by the number of environments that you have. That many number of physical servers were needed before virtualization. But after virtualization has come, one physical server can host 10 virtual machines or 20 or even 30 virtual machine based on the capacity of that particular physical hardware. Nowadays, the physical hardware is coming with terabytes of memory. Like those days, like 20 years back, even you won't have 20 terabytes of storage in your disk, right? Those days we used to have the magnetic hard disk drives. Now the SSD drives are coming with huge capacity, and even the memory RAM, right? Even those RAMs are coming in terabytes of capacity. Even your mobile devices are coming with 1 TB of storage, just like that. So the hardware has evolved like anything, and that is one of the reason why virtualization become a very huge success. So technology around the virtualization was also evolving when it comes to software, when it comes to operating system, when it comes to the security solutions. So everything was evolving, and the virtualization from solution from VMware was a big hit, right? So almost 80 to 90% of the organization is using VMware vSphere. But recently, like, there is a decline because of the acquisitions, merger, and so on with Broadcom. But that will change, right? So they know how to bring back into the picture. So that's the reason a lot of other competitors, the hyper-converged infrastructure companies like Nutanix or a lot of other companies are competing. But the hybrid cloud environment, so the private cloud environment, it's mostly with VMware suite of products, right? The VMware vSphere or VMware vCloud Director. A lot of customers are already experiencing the cloud related offering with VMware set of product. But even you can bring the same experience you are getting in Microsoft Azure to your own data center by getting the Azure Stack as a service, right? You can deploy it on your own data center. And the point that I was trying to convey earlier, so for running 100 applications after the virtualization, right? Virtualization implementation, you just need 10 physical server instead of 100 physical servers as before. So virtualization has drastically reduced the number of physical servers, physical storage that you need, and the number of networking connection for 10 servers, you know how many networking cables you need, right? For 100, you definitely need if you have multiple different cabling for backup, production, and management, you might need 3 or 4 cables for each server. So that might result in 300 to 400 networking connections from your server. But if it is only 10 physical servers, so it is only 30 connections, and thereby the number of networking switches, the routers, everything is getting reduced, right? So the physical infrastructure has drastically come down on every data centers. That is also applicable for IBM, HP as a company, right? They have their own hypervisors, their own solutions. So their data center usage has come very drastically down, right? So 10% is what is there compared to the 100% usage 20 years back. So virtualization has completely reduced the physical footprint in the data center. That has provided option to run services for other customers also. For example, IBM has started providing their own private cloud environment where customers can come and, or they will provide you a set of physical servers, or they will provide you cloud related features on their own data center. This is what they call it as virtual private cloud, VPC solution, or HPC, hosted private cloud solutions, where customers will come and just run their applications and services in a co-location like IBM's data center or HP data center, and they will pay for the consumption at the end of the month. It can be other way around also. For example, if I'm a big enterprise Fortune 100 company, I have a data center with me, and I want companies like IBM or HCL or anyone managing my own private cloud environment. That can also be done. That is called MPC. So the provider like IBM or HP, they will come and manage my private cloud environment, and the IT related services will be handled by them. So that is the other way around, right? So MPC is managed private cloud, where the private cloud is being managed by third party. So MPC is a different option. VPC is a different option. VPC is where virtually you have compartments for different customer on IBM data center, where the underlying hardware replacement or maintenance of the data centers, the surveillance, security, the physical real estate, all those activities will be taken care by IBM in this case. In managed private cloud, the underlying data center related expenses has to come from that Fortune 100 companies. It can be Nestle, or it can be Hitachi. Those kind of companies are having their own private cloud environments, which can be managed by third party also. So private cloud has got different way of deployments within that. But in short, private cloud is something dedicated to a particular organization, or it's private to a particular company, right? Private is a dedicated environment where customers are hosting their application with good amount of isolation on the network and the servers, compute, and everywhere. There is a complete isolation. So a lot of legal security, government regulations, restrictions can be met on this private cloud environment. When it comes to public cloud, it is accessible for everyone over the public internet. So that's the name public cloud, right? It's open for a general public. Any public with a public with a particular credibility belonging to a particular country, or if they have a banking transaction on a particular country location, they can use their banking credit card or debit card to create an account in public cloud like Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services, and they can start running their services. They will just do a legal check and authenticity check, and you can go and run. Any general public can come and run their services, but provided they have to verify and provide their mobile number for authentication, and then there will be one more level of verification, banking verification. So you don't have to pay anything until you start consuming their paid services. There are some free tier services which you can consume from the public cloud, which we will discuss in details maybe today or tomorrow. And a lot of customers, they have a mix of applications. Some application they can host it in public cloud, some application they might have to have it on their own data center, and maybe like the data base has to be on their own data center because of the data regulatory requirements. They cannot have the data stored in some third party data center. They can have their database on their data center, and then the front-end web applications or web services can be hosted on public cloud where there is no data getting stored in the public cloud environment. And even you can, some customers are using public cloud as a DR location or disaster recovery or business continuity option, where you can have services running on premises as well as on your public cloud as active or active passive, so that there is a switchover, there is a kind of warm standby that is there for taking over the services of the end users. Like that also you can use. And some customers are just taking backup into the public cloud, or they are storing the data on the public cloud. So there is a mix of customers with different use cases. So hybrid cloud is a mix of usage from on-premises private cloud as well as public cloud. So we are using on-premises data center as well as the public cloud offering. That's why we call it as hybrid cloud. Community cloud is for a specific community. For example, Azure offers government cloud. Azure Germany is a separate cloud for German customers, and even for China, they have a separate cloud called Azure China Cloud. So it is for a specific country or a specific government requirement or for a specific community requirement. So I'll explain, I'll walk through different offering that we have and the different options that we have with Microsoft Azure. But community cloud is for a specific community. So these are the four different ways of deployment for public cloud, or sorry, the cloud can be deployed based on your customer application requirement. Either it can be on your own data center or it can be in the public cloud offering. Public cloud environments are entirely managed and serviced by the external provider. In our case, Microsoft is taking care of the public cloud environment, and they are providing it as a offering called Microsoft Azure, where customers can go and request for the compute or storage or database resources that they need to run their application. So there are a lot of benefits, as I told you: availability, scalability, accessibility, cost savings, and you get wide variety of platform to choose from. There is a lot of cost savings as well when it comes to public cloud. So the biggest advantage that you get with the private cloud is the data isolation, right? You can comply with a lot of security, legal, standard requirement, but going and getting that accreditation or the compliancy certification is not that easy. Whereas you are getting those compliance, those accreditations already readily available on public cloud. I'm referring to the ISO, the SOC, the HIPAA, the PCI certifications or accreditations, right? So that is something which you have there. Okay, so there are certain cases where Microsoft environment was experiencing some kind of downtime in the past, but in the recent past, the downtimes have drastically reduced because of how they are handling the services. There were certain stages where the self-service portal or some of the services had a central location dependency, but over the experience, Microsoft has come over such challenges. So the downtime is kind of coming down. But with Microsoft environment, you know, right, people get a lot of graphical options, GUI options, where they can go and play around, where they can do modifications quickly, and then that can result in downtime for the customers. So that drawback is there. With when it comes to Microsoft is trying to overcome that by releasing core editions and non-GUI editions, where customers are gradually opting for it. But when it comes to AWS, there are a lot of customers who are running services on Linux or Unix or like kind of re-platformed offering, where the adoption of Linux is more on AWS. But with Microsoft, people are coming here for hybrid licensing, or maybe they get a lot of cost discount for running their Microsoft uh, operating systems or databases. Microsoft offers you a lot of hybrid options and cost savings for your application, which has dependency on Windows and Microsoft SQL databases. So the downtime is kind of comparatively getting better over the years, and the security aspect, the data security, data compliance, the auditing also is being excellently handled by Microsoft with their accreditations. There are 100 plus accreditations they have on almost all their data centers. When it comes to private cloud, of course, the support or the governance, the control is more on the private cloud. As a customer, you will have complete control on what you can deploy or what you want to run your services on. Those complete control maintenance, monitoring, everything can be done end to end by the customer itself. So you know where the logs are sitting, you know how to quickly debug or traces at the network level, at the physical hardware level. You have complete control. That is the biggest advantage with private cloud. See, that's not something everyone is looking for, right? They each and every customers have their own business. IT is not their primary area to look at, so they don't want to work on storages, servers, and networks every day, right? So they want to focus on how they can improve on their customers' business, like providing new features, new enhancements at the application level. That is what every customer or most of the customers will try to look at. So the IT maintenance, IT monitoring, IT support and troubleshooting is something many of the customers are trying to offshore or ask it to be managed in a like in a kind of what do you call remote support, or there are a lot of cases where it is offshore to low cost countries, right? That is how the IT has been managed for a very long time. But the advantage, I would say, with private cloud, the control and the tracing options that you get is more on the private cloud. And also you can legally comply with all the security, government regulatory requirements. And you can also go and choose whatever hardware, software versions you want. You can also continue to run your server hardware for 7 years, 10 years, and even you can have your storage devices used for 12, 13 years and so on, right? So you have that control. You can run it on any devices and expertise that you want. But when it comes to public cloud, so they always go for the latest. So there are pros and cons with all these model, but from security and control aspect, you have more on private cloud. But when it comes to public cloud, you get a lot of scalability, availability, redundancy, and a lot of other benefits that we are talking about, right? Like time to market, the agility, the scalability options, and the flexibility that you get with a lot of options. When it comes to load balancer, they will provide you 4 different native options, and you can also go and pick and choose more options from marketplace, like FI load balancer or whatever appliance as a service. So there are wide range of offering that are there. And as I explained, even the public cloud has got a couple of options with Microsoft. Microsoft is providing you the compute, storage, and these services using a platform called Microsoft Azure, whereas the Exchange, the OneDrive, the Teams that we are using for our meeting. So these are all offered as a service for under Microsoft 365 category. Okay, so any questions on the 3 different or 4 different deployment models? I guess you already know these things, right?
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure the team also knows. I think no, it's a quick recap or refresh.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Just quickly,
So,
suggestions, and since we are 1 hour, can we take a quick break or everybody is okay?
Break, yes, I like a break. I did not introduce myself. My name is Hussein. I joined late because I was in the break and I like a break. So we'll have next break. What do you think?
yeah, so what I will do is I will take just 10 minutes to cover a
10
couple of
minutes
more
is good.
slides. Yeah. And then we'll have a 10 minutes break or 15 minutes break whatsoever. Yeah. So maybe
Good.
like we are at 5:35, we will break. I mean, I'm in India time. So in 10 minutes from now, we'll take a 15 minutes break. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's continue. So of course, you need to be aware of the shared responsibility model. As I said, as a customer, you need to manage the licensing. On top of that, you need to take care of your data in terms of backup or security, in terms of auditing controls. The identity and access management has to be taken care in software as a service. As a customer, you have to manage this even in software as a service. And when it comes to platform as a service, on top of the identity and access management and data, you have to manage the application platform, in the application, the code and the redundancy, the CI/CD has to be taken care by the customer. And when it comes to infrastructure as a service, you have to take care of the operating system, the patching of OS, upgrade, maintenance of operating system has to be taken care by the customer. So all these layers have to be taken care by the customer when it comes to infrastructure as a service. The real the physical infrastructure, right? It is managed by the cloud provider. Any changes or any maintenance related activities, firmware upgrade on your storage or OS upgrade on the physical hardware. So all these hypervisor related stuffs will be taken care by the cloud provider. In our case, Microsoft is going to take care of infrastructure as a service. Any service that has to be taken on the compute network and storage layer, it is taken care by Microsoft. So that's why they call it as infrastructure as a service. And here on top of infrastructure, the platform is also taken care by the provider, Microsoft. So they are providing you the runtime environment and the middleware and other components. So they call it as platform as a service. So this is what we call it as shared responsibility model. There is one more view that you need to be aware of when it comes to security, that will be discussed a little later. So the adoption ratio is very high in the recent past. So Microsoft Azure is being heavily adopted or experimented in the last 8 to 10 years. As I said, Microsoft has done a restructuring or rebranding in 2014, whereas they started the cloud offering with branding of Windows Azure, and then they rebranded it to Microsoft Azure in 2014 by Satya Nadella, and then they have started getting a lot of customer base, and the experimentation or the plan to use is little higher on Microsoft Azure. And when it comes to commercial revenue, as I said, Microsoft has got Azure platform as well as they've got the 365 platform, where they are getting a lot of revenue from all three categories: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service category. So when it comes to characteristics, okay, so you cannot call your data center overnight as a private cloud or a cloud environment, right? You need to have certain characteristics on your own data center or from the public cloud provider to call that environment as a public cloud environment, or these are the list of characteristics that you need to have. So on-demand self-service, when you need something, it can be compute, or it can be database, or it can be load balancer, or it can be any appliance, right? So you need to get it on demand as a self-service. You have to log into a single sign-on portal where you can go and click and get a virtual machine or a database or an application, and you can run the services on demand through a self-service platform. And behind the scene, the orchestration and automation have to work hand in hand. For example, if you talk about let's say HP or some companies, they used to provide products like CSA, Cloud Service Orchestrator, and CSO, right? Cloud Service Orchestrator, Operations Orchestrator tools, and even with VMware as an example. Many of you might be using VMware, right? VMware provides you VRA, VRO, and so on. So those are all orchestration automation solutions through which you can create runbooks, playbooks, and you can automate your work. So when you go and click create virtual machine or deploy virtual machine, behind the scene, this orchestrator and automation tool helps you to deploy that infrastructure, be it database or virtual machine. There is a set of activities that has to follow, right? If you want to create a virtual machine, there's a sequence of tasks. That sequencing will be done on the orchestration tool. That in that runbook deployment or the playbook trigger will happen from the automation tool. So there is a different technology that are there for orchestration and automation. So Azure Resource Manager is what is taking care of the control plane on Azure platform. Similarly, each and every provider like VMware has got its own suite of products like VMware vRealize, right? Under that, they have got vRealize orchestration, vRealize automation, and so on. So that will take care of the underlying sequencing or the playbook creation, runbook creation. All those stuffs will be taken care by those tool sets. And of course, you can access these services over a global network of integrated services, and Microsoft has got the highest level of networking for their data centers. I will come to that particular portion when we discuss the geographical presence, right? Resource pooling wise, yeah, you have a lot of resource sharing here. As I told you, we were talking about an analogy, right, of owning a house and going and staying in a rented apartment. In a rented apartment, the shared access to the swimming pool or the lift or the maintenance or the generator related AMCs, those are all shared between different tenants there, right? And cloud is a multi-tenant concept where the resources are being shared across multiple customers. When you share it, you get a lot of cost benefits because of the shared maintenance cost and so on. So of course, when you're running your services on your own private cloud or public cloud, you have to have metering, right? Without metering, for example, we were talking about utility services, right? You have meters at every home for measuring the electricity supply, water supply, and so on. And those smart meters are the normal meters. They are helping you to go and help with chargeback. Here also, either it is a private cloud or public cloud, you might have internal customers. Like let's say you have a private cloud environment in an engineering college or in a particular organization. They might have different departments. They might have finance department, IT department, and so on in an organization. Whereas an engineering college might have mechanical, computer, and IT department, and so on. See, you cannot assume things. For example, you cannot go and say IT and the computer science department are more closer to IT and they have to pay $20 each, whereas the rest of the departments like mechanical, civil, and other department have to pay $10 each. You cannot say that, right? See, maybe the civil department in an engineering college might need a kind of specific hardware model. They might need a graphics card for their particular application, and they might consume a lot of CPU memory resources. So there need to be a mechanism to meter what each and every department or each and every organization, sub organizations or sub companies are consuming. So that way you can go and charge back them based on the consumption. For example, the computer science department might run some basic applications like less IT resource consuming resources like Java or .NET or something. But then whereas the civil mechanical department might request for very huge size hardware, based on the consumption only we can go and charge back internally or externally, whatever. Like, so there needs to be a metering mechanism where they can go and charge back the customer. So the private cloud and public cloud definitely provides you options to go and set up the metering. See, if you want to get these characteristics, there are a lot of options available with the OpenStack suite of product. They provide you services for each and every category that I'm talking about here, for orchestration, automation, metering, monitoring. Monitoring is different, metering is different, right? Metering is measuring your consumption, whereas monitoring is looking at your availability, the performance of your systems in terms of CPU utilization, memory utilization, or the uptime of your services, like whether the service is up and running and available for your consumers. So metering is measuring the consumption. Monitoring is looking at the performance, capacity, and availability of your services or resources. Of course, cloud is a multi-tenant environment. Of course, you can use it and pay for a particular complete organization, or you can have internal subcharging mechanism using cost center or charging code internally for your customer. There is a easier way to get all these internal charging back options. Like, you need to have a better tagging practice. I will come to the tagging and how you can do it. So is there a question? Someone has come out of mute, maybe. So feel free to interrupt me anytime. Okay, you don't have to wait until the end of the session to ask your question. So anytime you have question, feel free to um, interrupt and ask the question. So of course, public cloud has got some disadvantages. So because we have to rely upon the internet services for accessing all the resources. So we need a stable internet connection. And of course, we need to take care of the security, privacy, and legal compliance. We need to we never know where our services or applications are hosted. We don't know the physical location, where exactly which storage or which data center our services are running. So there are multiple redundancy options or multiple resiliency option where they are scattering our data into multiple data centers for higher availability and durability. But see, Microsoft does offer a solution called Azure Geography. So when you want to comply with GDPR, like the Data Protection Act from the European region, right? If you want to be compliant with GDPR in terms of data, the data that you are storing within an Azure Geography will not go beyond the geography. So that way, you are compliant with the data legal regulatory requirements. So even though they keep multiple copies, that copies of data will be within that particular geography. See, there are certain exceptions for that. Maybe some region like Singapore or Hong Kong or certain countries might have a very small physical location, right? You cannot have multiple regions or multiple data centers distant apart from each other, because the complete country size itself, the radius itself is very small. You cannot achieve 200 kilometers distance between two different regions or two different data centers. So wherever possible, Microsoft is trying to achieve the availability of this. I mean, I'll come to the availability zones and those topics shortly. But there are certain disadvantages over the period. You might get into the providers, I would say, lock in, right? So let's assume that you are currently running services on okay, we are learning Microsoft Azure. I'll take their competitor AWS as an example. So let's say you are running your databases on Microsoft SQL on premises, and then you want to come to AWS. Over the period, they will give you a lot of details, like saying like Amazon Aurora is 10 times faster, 6 times cheaper, and all those facts, right? And based on the fact, you might migrate your databases to their own offering when it comes to databases or application services. You might get over the period, you might start migrating to their own services or technology offering. So if you want to come out of that cloud provider, the technology that you need might be expensive, or even any data that you are transferring outside of that particular provider, be it Microsoft or Amazon, data transfer out is always chargeable. So if you want to come out of their data center or public cloud offering, you have to pay for all the data transferred outside of their data center, be it region to region, or from AWS to on-premises, or AWS to Microsoft Azure, or from Microsoft to any other provider. The data all getting transferred out is chargeable. See, the data getting transferred into the data centers like Microsoft or Azure, AWS data centers, you don't have to pay for it. See, you are already paying for the internet charges, right? Whatever the data that you are sending, you are already paying it to the network provider. But they are saying like data transferred into their data centers are free. In a way, you as a customer, you are paying for it already to someone else, right? As a network provider or someone. If you're using Microsoft Azure Direct Connect or VPN circuit, you might again pay for that service also to the same provider. So there are a lot of
No, this is. I just can I interrupt you, please?
yeah, yeah, please, please.
Thank you. So that's okay. If you have site-to-site VPN with you, and
Mhm,
for sure you will pay, I believe, for the service itself and for the service provider, etc. But what I know that Microsoft is charging you even for the bandwidth which you use for your site-to-site VPN, or for your VM, because there is a lot of people, they um, end up with
mhm,
a high charges because somebody trying to do DDoS attack, for example.
mhm.
So how that work actually?
Okay, so
Because
yeah, in short, to answer your question, Hussain, yeah, you are right. In fact, if you're using services like VPN, there is an additional overhead or charge. See, you are trying to do encryption and decryption at both the ends, right? From the customer side, it can be end user at home or office location, and trying to connect with Microsoft data center. You are doing encryption and decryption at both the ends. You are using some security appliance, or you are using some networking devices to do that encryption and decryption, and you are sending that through a tunnel where there is an additional IT overhead, right? So that's the reason at a very high level, because of the security, privacy, and the tunneling that you're creating, there is a overhead of security processing that is done at both the ends. Okay, so the encryption and decryption has to be taken care of, and still the data transfer in is comparatively cheaper. Okay, there is not much charges for that, and there are a lot of additional logs that are getting stored because of the encryption, decryption, and the tunneling. Microsoft has to store some more logs on the VPN circuit, because like the VPN is provided as a service by them, right? Either it is a site-to-site VPN or point-to-site VPN. They are capturing some more logs for tracing, troubleshooting, and so on. And that's the reason why there is a difference in cost when you're going for a VPN solution, because of the customer requirement. They need some security and privacy where the data has to be passed on through the tunnel, and they are getting that isolation at the network level. So if they need it, they are going to use it, right? And of course, if the application demands for a private tunnel on the internet, of course you have to slightly pay for that because of the stuff that I was talking about, right? The encryption, decryption, the additional logs you get for tracing and monitoring the issues, and so on. So maybe like I'll give you more in-depth explanation when we discuss about the VPN options and the costing around the VPN solution.
here,
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so there are of course disadvantages when it comes to public cloud. Not everything, I mean, not all of things, all of the stuffs are advantages with public cloud. Public cloud also has some performance related stuff or issues might not occur in your on-premises data center because you are directly connecting through the direct network connections through the L3 switch or the L2 switch with higher bandwidth. So the bandwidth constraints might not be there on the private cloud. In public cloud, yeah, the internet connection, the bandwidth, the throughput that you get might be comparatively low compared to your private cloud environment. So these are some of the disadvantages, and so that
Yeah,
calls
I
out
think
for a.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
Stan, I think disadvantages some are, debatable,
Yeah,
especially
true,
because,
true.
because
The
cloud is,
cost and all, right? Yeah,
yeah,
it is
cloud is
unpredictable.
actually, getting advanced now, control reliability, security and compliance, etc. For example,
Yeah,
if you look at the security and compliance to get the compliance level, HIPAA or etc. in our, data center will
yeah,
be very hard compared to the, the security standards which they are using in the cloud. Yeah. So
true, true,
lot
true.
of
Of course.
areas, yeah, I think it is an advantage as well. So a lot of, yeah, I mean,
Related
probably,
knowledge, yeah. So we have to be very, very careful there. See, let's say I'll give a quick example there, right? Since you talked about security, see, they might provide you a click of a button, right? You can go and say, I need Shield Advanced. Okay, just for an example, I want DDoS Advanced Protection. Maybe your application might not really need that. So some of your application might be accessible only for the intranet users. See, these web application firewall or the DDoS Shield and all, it's really needed for the internet facing application. So as an architect, we need to really think whether that applications are getting exposed to the internet or just intranet facing. For intranet facing, we don't have a lot of.
I
Yeah,
understand. Yeah, I know where you're
yeah,
coming. So what my point is, those controls when we are, doing
mhm,
it the right way, because, see,
yeah,
disadvantage, advantages, anyway, whether advantage or disadvantage, you have to do it right way. So that is for sure. So when you say that, it has been well architected, then,
true, true.
those security, for example, DDoS is available
Mm,
straight away which for the public IPs, right? You can apply it, right? So
true,
if you want to
true.
get that DDoS done in an on-premise environment, it's a lot of tasks to be done. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and then
Yeah, a
it's a
lot of
lot of
effort.
cost as well. And
Very
then,
nice. Yeah.
maybe these DDoS appliances, etc., or, whatever solutions, they will be updated quite often as well, rather than,
Very
we
true.
manage it ourselves. Yeah. This is one example, but, but I think, some of these areas are basically been advanced in the cloud, so that, those are actually becoming an advantage for a lot of customers in some of the areas.
Yeah, you are spot on, Anvaj. Yeah. So there are a lot of new technologies, features, enhancements that you get on the public cloud. Whereas even though the enhancements, the features are comparatively low,
Yeah.
you have to just invest one time on security devices. Whereas, like for example, if I'm enabling this DDoS Shield, it might be $100 extra for me every month on month. Just a button click will cost me $100 for my application, and month on month I will start paying $100 extra for that particular click of a button. See, as an architect, we have to be very careful, and even as an operations engineer, you need to understand whether the see if a provider is providing an option to enable disable something, there you have to think about the cost also when it comes to
We
public cloud.
fucked
For
up
example,
with more than 300,000 man.
true, true, true. Yes, yes, yes,
With
yeah.
that
Yeah.
one, then we
Mm.
negotiate with them, and
So,
it's a fucking link story. Where's my break, man?
let's have the break now.
Yeah, yes, sure, sure, sure. I'll
Thank
stop
you.
sharing. Yeah, sorry for dragging it
Thank you, Mr.
beyond what we
Stan.
thought.
Thank you.
No problem. Sure.
Okay, we'll be back. What time?
Maybe should we take a 15 minutes break? Will that
Okay,
be
good. Deal. Deal.
15
okay?
minutes, yeah, should be done.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Yep,
I will mute.
sure.
And Vaj, I'll just pray and I'll call you, okay?
Okay, sure. Thank you.